What is up? NBA Rundown brought to you by Run Pure Bets and Run Pure Sports. Please like and subscribe this video so we continue to keep the content coming. Today, I'm joined by Hoop and Titletown. Hoop, welcome back. Had a pretty good day on Monday. We're looking to do it again, huh?
Yeah, we're gonna go back to back. I mean, yesterday or 2 days ago, we're on Monday. Yeah, I gave out 2 winners and then some additional extra winners, but the official picks went 2-0. We're gonna add on to that again today. I mean, we talked about it on that show, that Cavs line against the Rockets. That was one of the easiest bets I think of the year, and obviously worked out in our favor. It was back and forth a little bit, but the Cavs pulled away in the fourth quarter. Tonight's slate is obviously very difficult because we're going to get a lot of news. We already have a lot of news, and there's just there's about 100% chance that we get a lot more here before lock. So we'll do our best at breaking it all down, betting and DFS wise. But it's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, what we're going to do today, we're going to provide you like an early look, our thoughts on these games. But, I mean, there's no better day to plug the show that you guys do going pretty close to lock until it switches over to Holden, because this news is becoming fast and furious. We're going to be adjusting our lineups, and a lot of these plays on the betting side that I'm giving out are going to be recommendations until we get the full starting lineup. But speaking of that, making his debut, Titletown. I love watching you on the DFS show, so I'm glad to get you on here and talking some of the bet sides. How you doing today?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I've been checking these out with Hoop, you, JSU. You guys do a really good job. Add more insight on the betting side, which always helps with DFS to pace of play, different matchups and stuff. So never can get too much content. I'm excited, but as you said, there's going to be tons of news hitting for sure. So it's going to be hard to lock in too much stuff right now because, like, if you were on the Warriors earlier and you get that Steph and Draymond news, you're definitely not feeling good right now. So definitely monitor news, but I'm excited to break it all down.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it so much, how much the DFS and the betting is intertwined, and I love bringing you guys on because you guys are so matchup focused. Sometimes you guys are pointing me to a matchup or maybe a rotation that I'm just not seeing from the bet side, and it's definitely been helping me with my own personal play. So that being said, let's dive into the card. Speaking of injuries and landmines, that's what the Toronto Raptors are dealing with right now, with half their team and their coach out to injury. Last night we gave a lean for Detroit. Boy, I wish we would have made that official because Detroit came through and smashed the Raptors. Now the Raptors, boy, this line's getting pummeled. It was 6.5. I'm seeing an 8.5 now. So Boston's laying 8.5 at home. The Celtics, surprisingly, I think they've won their last 3 games. Of course, against the Clippers team that was a little weaker. The Washington game, Washington gave them that game. I mean, talk about an early present. Yeah. And then the nice win over Indiana. So Boston's a team trending to the right direction going into the break, and this Raptors team is just absolutely decimated. So we'll start with you, Title. What do you make of this Raptors team, and do you think they have a chance to cover the 8.5 here?
Yeah, so the Raptors are on a back-to-back yesterday after a close game. Played a lot of minutes. Lowry played 35 minutes. Starters got a lot of run. Just a really tough spot for them on the road against the Celtics. Celtics, like you said, have been playing a lot better as of late. Tatum, he went in a little slump for a couple weeks, but he's turned it on. In DFS, we just kept buying in on the talent there. He's too talented. Your shot's going to get right eventually. I have a lean a little bit. I like the over a little bit, but I see it's got a little steam. I see it at 220.5 right now. I'm looking at the Fantasy Labs Vegas stuff. Did it open at 218.5? That's what it's showing for me. Is that what you see? So it got 2 points steam. I like the over a little bit because I think the Celtics run them. Just have a lot of success against Toronto, and then if it gets a blowout, which I expect the Celtics to have their way. But the bench pieces on Toronto, Terrence Davis, Norman Powell, he's a starter, but he plays well. I expect them to make it closer at the end. So I don't want to lay the 8.5 because if they're up 16, 17, 5 minutes left in the game, you never know how that place goes, but usually more points are scored at the end. So I lean the over 220.5 a little bit. Don't have too much of a lean on the 8.5 spread though, but I do like the Celtics in this game. It's a tough spot in Toronto on a back-to-back.
All right, Hoop. Title leans the over. What are you thinking of this game?
Yeah, if I was going to go anything here, I think I'd just take the points, take the Raptors with the points here. I mean, you're getting a nice number now, 8.5. Toronto's a scrappy team. Yeah, they got their ass kicked last night against the Pistons, but I'm going to give them the pass on that one. It does suck that it's a back-to-back, but that's why you're getting this big number because of what transpired last night, where they got smoked by the Pistons. So I lean the Raptors with that 8.5 number, and then for DFS purposes, this is going to be another spot where you probably load up on some Raptors guys. Norman Powell looked really, really good last night. He was crushing and really didn't even do anything in the fourth quarter. Still had a really big game. Kyle Lowry, I think, in play. I wouldn't mess with anything on the Boston side DFS wise because they're at full strength, and we have a lot of teams tonight that are going to be without some key producers fantasy wise. So I'm going to be focusing on those teams. Boston's not one of those teams. They're basically at full strength for the most part. So I lean the Raptors here, and some of their value options, Norman Powell as well. And then nothing for me really on the Boston side.
Yeah, I see they moved Powell to 7K. Title, does that kind of move him out of your range there, or do you think that's still a good value?
I think it makes for a good tournament play because everyone's scared to click Norman Powell at 7K. I mean, he was a 4 or 5 player in the beginning of the year, went up to the 5s and stuff. No one plays him at 7K, but he does have a ceiling that he's shown. So I like it in tournaments. It's too steep for me in cash games, though.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that. I lean towards taking the 8.5 as well. But as I said, we're going to tread lightly on this card, and maybe we'll come back to this game towards the end as we're looking towards the best bets if we can't find anything better. So this next game was a game that I guess the market agrees with me slightly because I do lean Washington here. They're hosting the Los Angeles Clippers. And, what else is new? Kawhi Leonard is questionable. Paul George called tonight's game a must-win, but if you take a lot of, Paul George quotes he's one of the craziest quotes in the NBA. All the wild stuff he says. But when we're looking at this Wizards team, right? I actually thought that this is the team that I expected at the beginning of the year. They came out really slow, but I don't think Westbrook was healthy. I think he is healthy now. He stopped shooting threes, which has been a boost to them. They got smashed by Memphis though on their last outing, and I talked earlier about how they essentially gave that game away to Boston earlier this week. So, I lean the Wizards here, but I don't love this spot. What do you think, Hoop? Do you think that Paul George is right and this is smash mot for the Clippers, or do you think Washington can keep this close?
Yeah, I'm kind of buying into this Wizards narrative where they're kind of getting up for these good teams in the NBA, and it just keeps happening, week in and week out. So I lean the Wizards as well. I kind of like them, maybe even a little bit more than you in this spot. And I do think there's a really good chance that Kawhi Leonard doesn't play. Like, he didn't play last game. Doesn't play today, gets the extended break. People that are questionable tonight, I'm just, for the most part, leaning towards them sitting. But with the trend of all these guys taking the extended break through the All-Star break. So I kind of think Kawhi sits. So I think like right now is a good opportunity to get on the Wizards plus that 5.5. It could go up obviously if Kawhi does end up being out, but I just like the Wizards in this spot regardless. So yeah, I'm definitely on them. DFS purposes, not the greatest. Again, like Boston on the Wizards side, basically at full strength. You could take a look at Westbrook, Beal, I think more in tournaments. And then on the Clippers side, if Kawhi Leonard does indeed sit, then you're looking at Paul George with a ton of usage, and he'd become one of the better plays on the slate for sure. And like I said, I do think Kawhi Leonard sits, so it's kind of something you can start thinking about already.
Yeah, so total's 236, and I lean over, which generally means I'd be looking at this game from a DFS perspective. So tell us what you think about the spread and total, and maybe some players that might make it into your lineups tonight.
Yeah, I lean the over as well in this game, and I'm also agree with Hoop with Kawhi. I don't see how he plays tonight. He had back spasm last game when he was warming up, expected to play, sat. No reason to bring him back today with the All-Star break, give him some extended rest. So for the DFS side, I like the Clippers if he's going to be out. Serge Ibaka's cheap, gets a lot more usage. Paul George is going to he dominated last game. He looked really good, so I expect him to be very popular if Kawhi's out. And we will get this news because it is the first game at lock with Toronto. So we will get that. But I'm with you on the Wizards side for the betting aspect, laying 5.5 or giving 5.5. Sorry, I don't know all the betting terms as much, but
you're good.
But they're full strength. Now they got Westbrook, they got Beal back. Rui Hachimura, I really think he's a very good player. His minutes are he's off a minutes limit. I just think this was a very good spot for them. They've looked a lot better. I expect a very up-tempo game, like you said. So I lean the over 236, which you don't see totals like this too often. But we have 3 of them on this slate. So, we have Portland Kings, we have the Bucks in Memphis, which is 234, and then we have this game. So definitely going to be targeting this game a lot in DFS, but it's hard to pay too much for the Washington side because their prices are so high in DFS and they're healthy. So it'd just be Westbrook or Beal in tournaments. Probably would just play one of them because there's other stars on the slate that I'd rather get to, such as Paul George and stuff. But I'm with you on the over. It's going to be a lot of fun DFS-wise, a lot of fun to watch, and I expect a lot of points. And I'm on the Washington side like you guys are.
All right. Well, it sounds like we're in agreement in this game. So this game definitely might be coming up when we move to our best bet segment. All right. This next game, this was the closest one I was to firing pregame or before the show so far. It's the Denver Nuggets heading to Indiana to take on the Pacers. And every time we talk about the Pacers on this show, we basically talk about how that they are lacking at wing. You know, they got a great point guard in Brogdon. They got the 2 big men in Sabonis and Turner. And, you know, they're missing Warren. And, they traded Oladipo for LeVert, who has yet to play. Cleveland got us the cover last night. JSU and I both like taking the points with Cleveland. They got the cover, but Indiana got the win. They've got to feel good about that. And Denver is coming off that emphatic, what I would even call a statement victory over the Milwaukee Bucks, where they looked absolutely fantastic. You know, a lot of times when we cap these Denver games, we think of Jokic's matchup. And, hey, it might be a little tougher tonight with Miles Turner. What do you think, Hoop? Lay the 4 with the Pacers, and the total's 227.
Yeah, I like the Nuggets in the spot. I think they're kind of starting to turn a corner a little bit. I mean, they've won 4 out of the last 5 games. That win against the Bucks was very, very impressive. I mean, I'm not big on titles Bucks, but needless to say, I mean, that's a big time win. So I lean the Nuggets here. I think they're starting to play a little bit better. Also, I mean, the Pacers listed a lot of guys as questionable yesterday. Mm-hmm. Do they have any of them? I don't think there's been an injury report today. I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like Sabonis does sit tonight. He was questionable last night. He is playing in the All-Star game. He was a replacement. He should have obviously been in first go-around, but he is going to be in there as a replacement, questionable last night. I wouldn't be surprised if he sits. I mean, for me, I kind of like taking maybe taking the Nuggets early on in the day, not a ton, like not don't put a full unit on, nothing like that, but just a little sprinkle on the Nuggets just in case Sabonis does sit, which I think is a real possibility tonight. So I'm going to lean the Nuggets. They've been playing better, and like I said, there's also a chance that you get a Sabonis out. For DFS purposes, Jokic has turned into basically the most secure fantasy option out there. I mean, just absolutely dominating night in, night out, regardless of matchup. I think he's a great spend again tonight. So, it's an interesting game. And this is, like I said, one of those games I wouldn't be surprised if we end up getting some news on the Pacers side.
Yeah, Title, let's look at the Denver side. Millsap out, Campazzo out, JaMychal Green out, RJ Hampton out, Gary Harris out. We still kind of lean the Nuggets. Does all these injuries worry you? And the fact that they do have the injuries, does that make Denver a little more attractive from the DFS perspective?
Yeah, so I actually disagree a little bit.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, I lean the Pacers +4 in this matchup a little bit.
Okay.
Denver came off an absolute smashing of my Bucks. Jokic is playing the best basketball in the NBA right now, no doubt about that. But he gets a tougher matchup against Miles Turner, Sabonis, Brogdon, assuming they all play. If one of them is out, the Nuggets definitely. Sabonis is out. It's probably 1.5, 2 points that makes up. I don't like it as much, but they're all healthy. This is a pretty tough matchup, and I expect Indiana to really focus on Jokic, try and double him every time in the post. They play good defense, but to take away the Nuggets team, you just got to take away Jokic and make others beat you. With the injuries, Campazzo is a big injury off the bench. They need to play more PJ Dozier. Hasn't played great as of late. I'm really high. I like Campazzo off the bench a ton. He makes that team a ton better, offensive side, defensive side. So I like the +4, Brogdon, Sabonis, Turner, but they are healthy if they all play, which I expect them to. So DFS side, I don't have too much interest in this game outside of Jokic, who, again, I said I like the Pacers side, but it's hard to avoid Jokic. He's just been so good. His usage has been crazy. He feels like a lock to get 55 every night, but it's going to be a tougher matchup than he's had against Milwaukee in the game before. So I'm actually on Pacers +4 a little bit, but you guys are on Denver, so I wouldn't fire on this game because I don't like disagreeing with you two.
All right, and that makes sense. Let's move on to the Detroit Pistons games. We talked about them earlier. You know, they thrashed the shorthanded Toronto team, but hey, give them credit, right? You know, we don't expect much of this team, and you know they still came in as 6-point dogs. So I got to give them credit for the win. Now they head to New York, and the money has been coming on New York all morning long. You know, I just see this line keep moving. Right now, it's all the way up to New York -7. New York's coming off a pretty poor performance themselves against the Spurs. Derrick Rose was a late scratch due to COVID complications, not any physical injuries on his part. So all he needs is a negative test today, and he will be in the lineup. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but basically it's not like he's fighting off a nagging injury if he's in the lineup. He should be 100% good to go. And from what I saw on that Spurs game, for a new addition, this team seemed pretty dependent on Derrick Rose to get their offense started. They didn't defend as well as usual. Overall, it was just a poor performance from the Knicks. Now they get a chance to bounce back. I see why the public's all over it and the market's all over moving this line. At 7, it seems a little too heavy, though, to where I'd actually lean Detroit here coming off the big win. I don't necessarily think this is a letdown spot because when you only have 10 wins, I don't think you have letdown spots. So interested to hear your thoughts. Hoop, let's start with you. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is my hometown team, the Pistons. Not a big fan of the Pistons, not a big fan of Detroit sports. It's been a very disappointing run here for Detroit sports overall. Pistons team, they obviously suck. Don't get me wrong. I mean, one of the worst teams in the NBA, but this is just, to me, too big of a number. Like, I get the Knicks are playing well overall this season, and you know, a lot of people are surprised with how well they've played, but 7-point favorite here, I don't think so. Like, there's not many teams in the NBA. I think that the Knicks are 7 points better than. So I really like the Pistons taking those 7 points. This is a situation too with the Pistons where, you know, these guys, they have injuries themselves, but these are guys that are out there busting their ass. These are guys that are out there, playing as hard as they can for their next potential contract or a spot on this team moving forward, or to be a part of this, organization moving forward. So I really like the Pistons plus the 7 here. For DFS purposes, Nerlens Noel is going to continue to be a target because of all the minutes he's playing. I mean, it's matchup-proof situation, blowout-proof situation. Like, he's playing his damn minutes. It does not matter, like, what's going on in the game. So I think he's a really safe option tonight. He will be popular. On the Pistons side, got to kind of wait and see with Jeremy Grant, who's still listed as questionable. He didn't play last night. Like I said, all these guys that are kind of listed as questionable, I kind of am assuming that they're going to be out. So I assume Jeremy Grant's out. You could take a look at some of these other guys, Sadiq Bey. Like, if Jeremy Grant's out and Josh Jackson does play, who's questionable as well, Josh Jackson becomes a really good option. So we really need the injury news on the Pistons. But regardless, I think that 7 number is too big. So I'll definitely take the Pistons here.
Yeah, title Detroit 10-25 on the year, but 17-15 against the spread. Do you think they continue their ATS run here tonight?
Yeah, I think +7, like you said, is just too much. Or like, the Knicks should never be a 7-point favorite over anybody. So I'm on that side as well. But we do have to monitor news. I'm just waiting till Thibodeau decides to play quickly, 30+ minutes a game. This guy's a complete stud. Their team is so much better when he gets run. I don't know what he's waiting for, what's going on, but I mean, we don't control what coaches do. So I do like +7 though. As far as the DFS standpoint, like Hoop said, Big T's boy, Nerlens Noel, he's playing 40 minutes a game. Like, it's hard not to play him at that price. I know his usage isn't good. He doesn't shoot a lot. He's always a better play on FanDuel because of the stocks upside. Derrick Rose, if he does play, makes for a pretty good play too. He's 5,900 on DraftKings. As far as the Detroit side, if Jeremy Grant and Josh Jackson are out again, Svi Mikhailuk will be chalk again. Yeah, his price went down 100 actually. He was 50% in cash games last night. Good shooter, plays. I mean, if those two are out, they need him to play a lot of minutes. He played 36 yesterday. If they're out, it's really hard to avoid them. I'm not worried about this matchup, but it's not a high total at two slower paced teams. But I mean, he would be major chalk again. His price came down, so that's something worth monitoring. If Grant's in and Jackson's out, or vice versa, either of them become better plays. They'd have to play a lot of minutes. They just don't have. I mean, Grant plays 38, 39 minutes a game. He has the most uses when he plays. But I do like the spot for Detroit. More so, just the Knicks aren't a 7-point favorite against anyone, I don't think.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I think Detroit can continue their against the spread run, and I'll be interested when I'm going to tune in the show when you guys do it tonight and see if any of these fringe guys on Detroit, especially if there's injuries, make it in there. Like has Sadiq Bey or Isaiah Stewart ever made it into a lineup for either of you guys, or
Sadiq
priced properly?
Sadiq Bey was actually chalk yesterday on FanDuel. He was like 45%. I didn't play him. I was kind of surprised, but yeah, Sadiq Bey usually is one. He gets some ownership. Mason Plumlee's price is too high, where he's kind of out of consideration in cash as much. But I expect Bey and Mikhailuk to get the biggest bumps if both of them are out.
Hoop, are you targeting any of these fringe Detroit players, or do you think there's better spots?
Yeah, I mean, if those guys are out, I mean, definitely I'll be looking here again. Like Title said, Svi on DK, just 3.1K is just a bad price tag. He'll play a lot of minutes. Just got to wait on the news and see. And yeah, even Sadiq Bey, I think it would be in the conversation again as well. I mean, Dennis Smith Jr., a revenge game here, coming off that triple double. Yeah. He's also another guy that you could potentially consider as well. Just need the news.
Yeah, so this whole show might just be an advertisement to be watching you guys tonight, because so much of what we do, the bets we place, and obviously the players that are going into your lineup is going to be contingent on this news this evening. If there was ever a day to tread lightly in the NBA, it's today. But we're going to continue and just kind of talk through these games and, various situations. If they're in, this is where we're looking. If they're out, this is where we're looking, and we'll forge ahead, and we'll talk about Title's team here. The Milwaukee Bucks, who are 21-14, but hey, only 16-18 against the spread. They head to Memphis to take on the Grizzlies, where the Grizzlies are catching 6 points in a game that's lined at 234. Pretty high total for a Grizzlies game. For a Milwaukee game, that's pretty normal. Title, what do you think about this game? Bucks bounce back spot, and maybe should we be getting some Bucks in the lineup tonight?
Yeah, I think this is a good bounce back for the Bucks. Just absolutely got torched by Denver last game. Their starters didn't play in the fourth, Middleton, Giannis, so they're going to be fresh. I expect them. I mean, they need to win this game to get their mojo going back into the All-Star break. So I think this is a good bounce back for the Bucks. The number is a little. I mean, I think it's priced pretty right. So I don't have like a strong lean on taking the 6, but I think they do get the win today. As far as the over/under, it's a high number for sure. Bucks always play at a faster pace. I expect Memphis with Ja Morant. I expect them to try and do that as well. I'm not sure how much Valanciunas can get involved in this game. I know Brook Lopez and him match up okay, but I feel like it's just going to be too fast of a game for those two, really, where they're going to want more Bobby Portis, Brandon Clark, and go smaller and up and running and gunning. So it's a very interesting game. I like it a lot for DFS, mainly Giannis. He's 11K on DraftKings. I think this is an absolute smash spot for him. Probably my favorite spend up on the slate. I like him a little more than Jokic today with the good game environment. And Indiana's better on defense. I think they slow down Jokic a little more. So I like the Bucks in this spot. The number's numbers right though at 6, but Giannis is my favorite spend up on the slate.
Yeah, Hoop, the higher the books line these totals, the more inclined I am to take the over, as counterintuitive as that sounds. But some of these numbers they can't seem to put high enough. Now, 234 doesn't exactly fit that situation, but it is a high number, and the over is intriguing. I think even more than the side. I think the 6 points seems just about right. Memphis could keep this close. So, what are your thoughts on this game? If you don't think they keep it close, like if you laid the -6, it almost might be a spot where you wouldn't want these guys in the lineup. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I like the Bucks here. I lean the Bucks to come in and make a statement going into the All-Star break. I mean, that was a really disappointing and sad performance for them the other night against the Nuggets. Nuggets were on a back-to-back. The Bucks were like favored by 8, wasn't it? It was a really high number. Like the Bucks were massive favorites in that game,
Yeah.
and they got embarrassed. So I think it's a good bounce back spot for the Bucks. So my favorite thing here would definitely be the Bucks minus that 6. Really like Giannis as well, like Title said. I mean, it's him and Jokic right now, and obviously you can throw James Harden in that conversation without Kevin Durant as like the top fantasy performers, steady week, game in, game out. Yes, Giannis did not get their last game, but that was because they got their ass kicked and it was a blowout. Expect him to bounce back here in a really big way. So it's very close between him and Jokic. On the Grizzlies side, a lot of these guys were in play last time out because Kyle Anderson missed. He's expected to be back. I don't even think he's on the injury report, so takes it away a little bit. I mean, I don't mind like in tournaments if you're going to play Giannis to maybe run it back with a guy like Morant. Morant's been playing really well and has flashed some of that big time upside that we saw last season. So I like the Bucks here. I like Giannis and Morant. I think in tournaments is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Morant. He's what 7,800 on DraftKings. In a game with a total of 234, which I think goes over, and I think it's going to be high paced. It'd be interesting, of course, if you're spending up for Jokic and Giannis, you're not going to be able to fit Morant in. But if you take a stand and you only take one of those players, he might be one of the guys that you're looking at, to bolster your lineup in the mid range, not to just go full stars and scrubs. So, I think it's a tough game. That 6 seems right, and I do expect Memphis to keep it close. And if they do, I think this puts a lot of these guys in play when you guys are building the lineups later this evening. The next game we have is the Oklahoma City Thunder catching 6.5 in San Antonio against the Spurs. Now, we can't talk about the Spurs without me pulling up Basketball Monster and finding out who we're expected to sit. Not as bad tonight. Rudy Gay, Aldridge, Vassell, and Whiteout. So they're slowly but surely trying getting some of their lineup back. On the OKC side, I see Horford is doubtful, which is big news. I'll be watching you guys tonight to see what they decide there. Josh Hall and Hamidou Diallo's out for sure. 6.5 points. Boy, I lean towards the Spurs here, but I don't love this spot. Hoop, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, this is the one I really don't have much of a lean on, to be honest. I mean, I've had a pretty good lean on most of the games so far. This one, from a betting perspective, I just have no lean. I mean, the 6.5 number seems pretty spot on for me. I mean, the Thunder obviously not as good as a team, but that 6.5 kind of accounts for it. So I probably wouldn't be betting this anyway. Not the spread, not the total. For DFS purposes, though, you have Horford out. SGA becomes a strong play. Gilgeous-Alexander, better price tag on FanDuel, but definitely in the conversation on both sites. The one guy that's really interesting from a value perspective, this Ty Jerome guy. Been playing a lot of minutes. He's 3.4K on DK. I think he is in the conversation at the point guard position. On the Spurs side, with LaMarcus Aldridge out, Rudy Gay out, Trey Lyles has been playing a ton of minutes. Not a ton of upside. I mean, I think he's probably better suited for cashing. I mean, he did get 33 last time. He's playing a lot of minutes. Upper 20s, low 30s, even into the mid 30s in some of these games. Still has a good price tag. I think he's definitely in the conversation tonight. But that's probably about it for me in this game.
Yeah, and of course, we talked earlier, this is kind of a tough slate to navigate, so we're not necessarily going to be giving out strong plays and best bets on every single game. But, Title, got to ask you about this. Oklahoma City coming off a 78-point performance, totals 219. What do you think about this game? That kind of stood out to me, right? Does the under seem too easy here?
Yeah, yesterday was absolutely brutal watching that. I'm on the Spurs like you are. I think 6 is a good number. I feel good about that. And it's just the opposite though in DFS, where I think the Spurs win, but there's better value on OKC side with the prices, with Horford doubtful. I expect Roby to to slide into the starting lineup. This kid's a really good player. I like his young talent. He has upside too. His price has crept up a little bit. He's 5,400 now on DraftKings, but he still does have upside for that price. Mike Muscala is 3,700. He gets a boost off the bench now. Going to see a couple more minutes. Ty Jerome, like Hoop said, he's been playing roughly 30 minutes a game, 3,400 on DraftKings. He's a good shooter, was a good player at Virginia. His game doesn't translate the best in the NBA. He's not as explosive in that, but he's a smart player. It's an okay matchup against the Spurs. So I think that makes for value if you want to go the stars and scrubs route, if you want to get the Jokic, or you want to get the Giannis's in the world. You need the Jerome. You need Muscala to punt. So I like the OKC side for DFS, but I like the Spurs side for betting. It's just their prices are now up. They're getting a little more healthy. I know Aldridge is out, but he's been coming off the bench anyway. Lyles slid into the starting role. He's been playing more minutes. I like DeJounte Murray the most in DFS at 7,900. He has upside, but it's just a tournament-only play because I'd rather go to all the way up and go stars and scrubs route more. But I like the Spurs -6. As far as the over-under, I don't have too much of a lean on it. I know the under seems too easy after yesterday. But like we said yesterday with the Lakers and the Kings, we all were like, how is it only 3.5? All these injuries, LeBron and all that, and when it's too good to be true, it usually is. So I'm hesitant on that.
What do you guys think of Aldridge moving out of the starting lineup? You know, his numbers were actually terrible as the starter, and the team always got a big boost when he left the game. It almost got to be one of my little live betting hacks was you watch the game and take the Spurs after Aldridge had got them to kind of a loss. I think he's much better suited to this role off the bench, and he seems to have embraced it. Do you guys agree with me here? What do you think, Hoop?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, he's just, his game doesn't really correlate to, the way the NBA is moving. He's kind of a big stiff, and these big stiffs, I mean, it's just there's not really many spots for him left in the league. So, they're rightfully kind of phasing him out. Maybe at some point they look to him a little bit more. But, as it stands right now, him coming off the bench is definitely the best bet for this team. I don't think they obviously have much of a chance to make a run, but in the short term here to win ball games, him off the bench definitely makes the most sense for this team.
You agree with that, Title?
Yeah, I think it's a very good move from Pop. He gets more usage off the bench. Now he's only playing 22 minutes a game. He just can work more in the low post without having DeJounte and DeRozan needing to touch the ball and stuff. He can't play. He can't be a 30-minute player in the NBA now. He's too much of a liability on defense. He's not suited for the current NBA. And that's so sad because he used to be one of my favorite players playing with Dame in Portland. He was such a beast in the low block. It was so fun to watch, but as time's passed, and I think Pop made a good move sending him to the bench.
Yeah, I mean, the way the NBA's changed has not been kind to his game and his skill set. So, speaking of the changing NBA, we kind of got a game that's going to epitomize that, and that's going to be our TNT game, the national TV game for the night. There's only one on tonight as we get ready for this extended All-Star break. It's the Miami Heat, who are 17-18, 15-19 against the spread. They're catching 2 points against the New Orleans Pelicans, who, let's see, I had the over on that game last night, and, the Pelicans made a charge back towards the end, but they still fell short against the Chicago Bulls, who I think are a wild team to handicap. You never know what you're going to get from them every single night. So what are you thinking about this game? And obviously injury news is going to be important. I guess I'll just start with you, Hoop. What do you think of the game, and do you think Jimmy Butler will be in the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the toughest one to really break down because Jimmy Butler and Bam are both listed as questionable. Maybe another situation. Actually, we just got news that Sabonis is questionable too. So what I talked about a little bit ago, I actually think he sits. So I'm gonna, once we hop off the show, I'm gonna put a little bit on the Nuggets just in case he does sit, because I think that team goes through Sabonis, and if he's out, I think that spells big trouble for the Pacers tonight. But with this Heat situation, we have Jimmy Butler questionable and Bam questionable. Maybe another spot where you put a little on the Pelicans. I mean, they're live either way, and if both those guys sit, Pelicans -2.5 turns into a really, really nice number. They're coming off a disappointing loss, obviously, last night to the Bulls. They're going to be looking to get this win here before the All-Star break. So kind of like the Pelicans a little bit. I like making an early play on the Pelicans. I think they're obviously the 2.5 is a fair number, but if Butler or even Bam, if one or two of them sit, or if both of them sit, obviously you're in a good spot. So, I like making a small play on the Pelicans here. And then on the Heat side, for DFS purposes, if both those guys are out, it's the spot we're going to be looking to load up. Dragic, none. Would not play both those guys together in the same lineup. I mean, because what we saw the last couple of games where, one does really well and one kind of stinks. So, it's definitely a situation in your lineups. You're not playing these guys together. You're splitting them up, but they're both respectively in play. Duncan Robinson would get a boost. Olynyk would get a boost. But if all these guys are in, I want nothing to do with this team. They have too many bodies. Pelicans, tough team right now for DFS. The price tags are up there, back-to-back situations, so I really won't be doing anything on the Pelicans side for DFS. But, like I said, on the Heat side, if those guys are out, you're going to be looking to Miami Heat guys for value tonight.
Yeah, Title. It's funny as you mentioned that the Nuggets. I tried to place the Nuggets at -4. They took it off the board. Didn't accept my bet. It's now -5.
Yeah, he's gonna sit.
Yeah, the Heat just reopened at +2.5. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of that move of them being taken off the board. So, but Title, I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this game, and maybe we can even slate more to DFS because we don't have the news. And I definitely want to ask you about Zion. I think that he's been a safe guy, right? I mean, he costs a lot, but he's getting you the points every single night. I threw him in a lineup last night, and it was the other guys that didn't get there for me, not him. How crazy would I be if I put Zion in a lineup tonight? And your overall thoughts on the game?
Yeah, so I like Zion a lot. His price is coming up, so his ownership's going to be sub 10% because people see that price tag. We were paying $7,400 earlier in the year for Zion and stuff, but he absolutely has a massive ceiling. Brandon Ingram, why did he only play 25 minutes yesterday? I had him on FanDuel. Was there a reason for – I didn't watch that game. Was there a reason that he only got 25 minutes?
It was weird. I don't understand what they did. Like, he ran into foul trouble in the first half, so that's why the minutes were kind of lower in the first half. And then the third quarter, he came out, and he was on fire. Like, tons of points, rebounds. He was getting steals, blocks. I think maybe picked up his fourth foul. And, that's a situation where these stars usually come back to start the fourth quarter. And he didn't come back until like 2 minutes left in the game, which I thought was odd as well.
Yeah. So
I haven't been big on Van Gundy's coaching decisions, and that's just another example of it's another kind of a landmine you have to try and move around when you're capping these Pelicans games. Total's 227. Seems a little low as the Pelicans are going over, and that would make us more likely to use these guys in DFS.
Yeah, so I do lean the over 227. That's probably my favorite. But as far as the spread, like I can't make a decision with Butler and Bam questionable. Right, exactly. If both of them are in, I don't like betting against the Heat ever. Very good team. He respects Spoelstra as a coach. If both of them are out, though, I mean, 2.5 is going to go to 5 or 6 or something. Mm-hmm. So can't pull the trigger this early. As far as DFS, I don't have interest if they're both in. There's better spots on this slate. I respect other injuries. I just saw Josh Jackson was confirmed out for Detroit, whereas Grant's questionable still. So Svi Mikhailuk is even more in play. Even if Grant plays, he still might be in there. But we're going to have other value pop-ups. Sabonis questionable that can make Brogdon and all that. So DFS, I don't have too much interest in this game outside of Zion in tournaments. I agree because he'll be low-owned, massive upside. He's just getting better and better every game. This guy's a complete superstar, going to take over the league. He's just so dynamic in so many ways. So I like that call a lot, and he'll be low-owned. But I can't make a lean on betting with Butler and Bam questionable.
Yeah, I love watching Zion. His defender will back up off him and dare him to shoot, and he'll still drive and get
to his left hand.
Yeah, it's just fantastic from a fan's perspective. And I'll tell you what, if I'm an executive at TNT, I can't be happy. I mean, I don't know what happened with that. They had this mandate that came out before the year that these guys were going to play on the national TV games, and I haven't seen any of it at all, and I haven't seen any enforcement of it at all. So as the NBA tries to kind of embrace gambling a little bit more, they're going to have to clean up their own backyard because, I mean, you shouldn't have to wait, and I love your guys' show, but you shouldn't have to wait till then to be able to handicap the game, right? I mean, like in the NFL, like we can start handicapping games on Monday and Tuesday for next week. For the NBA, sometimes we have to wait until about 15 minutes before lock. So maybe I'm just upset because I do a morning show and we never have the news. But, we'll keep an eye on your show tonight before we really make a decision on how we want to approach that game.
One thing I don't understand, though, I think it's the easiest solution for the NBA scheduling. Eliminate back-to-backs. Like, why do they have any back-to-backs?
Yeah, there's so many. And what's so funny is, they don't want to reduce the number of games because of the revenue. But what they don't understand, they're not looking to the NFL. The NFL has the most revenue with 16 games. Why? Because every game is important, like
Yes.
when these stars are sitting out with all the time, basically telling me, the fan or the consumer, the regular season isn't important. Then,
Yes.
they got announcers that don't sell the sport, on TNT. Like it was funny. Shaq was on wrestling last night. At least wrestling sells their product. You turn on TNT and they're just trashing their product left and right. It's just unreal the way the NBA markets and how much it seems like they're leaving on the table. I agree with you. A shorter schedule would be more fun and a little more urgency from the players. So I think we're all in agreement here, but I think that we're going to be just talking to a wall because I don't think it's ever going to happen. But here's one where the Warriors, they had the nice, they were kind enough to give us the news early. Right, so we can go ahead and cap this game properly. And now this line is plus 11.5 after it was anywhere between 5 and 6 if you bet it overnight. And it's the Warriors traveling to take on the Phoenix Suns, who've been playing great basketball. I mean, I wasn't sure if it was an overreaction when people were saying that Phoenix was a legitimate finals contender, adding Chris Paul, but watching this team, watching the way they play, and seeing how much he means to them and their ability to close out these close games, I can't argue and I can't say it was an overreaction. Most recently we saw them beat the shorthanded Lakers in a 10-point game. To be honest, we were on the Phoenix side, at Run Pure Bets, and I watched the game and I never felt like it was in doubt, it just felt like we were on the right side the whole time. And I was really impressed with Phoenix here. So now they get a chance to blow out the Warriors, who, I mean, honestly, I don't really know what to make of this game. 11.5 is a lot, and I want to know if these Warriors are going to end up in your DFS lineup. So we'll start with you, Hoop. I mean, is Andrew Wiggins at 6,400 going to be a play?
Yeah, this is one of the tougher spots to figure out because, I mean, when guys like Steph and guys like Draymond are ruled out, you automatically want to go here. But you look at the roster, they still have actually a lot of bodies that they're going to use all of them tonight. So I don't think it's as clear cut as some people might think. Like, Wanamaker's cheap. You can probably play him. Wiggins, Oubre, Juan Toscano Anderson is 3.1K. So, you're going to look to some of these guys. You're probably going to have some in your lineups tonight. But I don't think it's the most comfortable injury situation there is because, like I said, they still have a lot of bodies, and they're going to use them tonight. On the Phoenix side, I'm going to pass on them tonight. I mean, they're basically at full strength, and the likelihood for a blowout here is very, very high. And I'm excited about this game because I was able to pounce on the Suns minus that 6.5 before they took it off the board.
Fantastic. Yeah. And that's just sharp and using your notifications to your advantage there. Title, definitely want to hear your thoughts on the game. And Eric Pascal, 3,700 on DraftKings. He's going to be more than 40% owned.
Yeah, so because Oubre is also questionable in this game. If he gets ruled out, I definitely will have interest in this Golden State side. The problem is, though, I don't like picking on Phoenix, like you said. I mean, Chris Paul brings a whole new dimension to this team. This guy is one of the best point guards that ever played the game, makes every team so good. And I just don't love picking on Phoenix, but you got to look at guys like Pascal. Kent Bazemore had a really good game yesterday. He should get a start again, 3,500. Brad Wanamaker, 30,000, or Min Price. I like James Wiseman a little bit too, especially if Oubre's out. They haven't played him. His minutes have been lower than I want, but he has a massive ceiling. He's a good player. I just think they're going to need all these guys to just play minutes in a blowout too, which I expect Phoenix to dominate this game or control it most part. I expect them to get more of their young guys runs. So I'm going to have some pieces on Golden State with the injuries. The matchup's tough. as far as 11.5, that number is too big for me to make a move either way. So much can happen there. Over under, I don't have too much of a lean either. But DFS side, I'm going to have some Warriors with the injuries. Phoenix, they're so healthy now, full strength. In a blowout too, they might not get fourth quarter runs. So I can't make a case for any of them.
All right, let's get some, just some general NBA thoughts before we move on to the last game. What do you guys think about Phoenix's upside overall? I mean, do you think they have a chance to make the finals, Western Conference Finals? Hoop, we'll start with you. Like, what are you expecting from this team in the playoffs, assuming they come in healthy?
I think it's going to be the same. The story's going to end the same way as all other Chris Paul teams. They're going to fall short. It's the same thing. I mean, I like what he's doing. I like, obviously, how he fits with this team. They're playing great, but we know how this story ends. I mean, come on. It's been happening for years. They're going to probably make it to the Final Four in the Western Conference and then lose. I mean, it's very, very easy.
All right, so Hoop's expecting a second-round exit. What do you think, Title? Do you have higher hopes for Phoenix, or do you have kind of the same ideas here?
I mean, I think this is a sleeper team. I don't think they're going to get to the finals. The Western Conference is stacked, and Kawhi Leonard, LeBron, they're going to show up when it's said and done. But I think Chris Paul team gives other teams a fight. Obviously, we all remember his injury when they were up 3-2 against the Warriors. So close to getting it done, but I think this is a very tough team. They play defense. They're well coached. They have depth with Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, solid. They really need to figure out what DeAndre Ayton this year. I expected so much more from him. He's hardly playing 30 minutes a game now. He gets in foul trouble, it seems like, every other game. They really need to get him more involved. But I CP3 and Devin Booker, good, well-coached team, good defense. I think they can really surprise and make it tough for teams in the Western Conference. But I don't think they can get to the finals. I think it's going to be one of the Lakers or the Clippers. Just they're so top heavy. So, but I'm a little higher on them than Hoop is. I think this Phoenix team's tough.
Yeah, and so it's funny you mentioned Ayton and it struggled to get the minutes because usually this is something we see in the playoffs, but teams are targeting him in the pick and roll. And it's kind of frustrating because I feel like he has the athleticism to not get played off the floor at this situation, right? Like, I mean, we see Capella get targeted like this, and he's able to hold his own. I don't see any reason why Ayton can't, but, he gets targeted a couple times, and then Monty Williams brings in the hook. And I think that's also made easier by the fact that the teams played so well with Saric as kind of the small ball five. But just looking at them, right, wouldn't you think that Saric would be a bigger target than Ayton?
Yeah, I don't know what. Like, I agree. I thought Ayton, because he's a good player all around. He can move his feet. He's a big man. Like, I'm surprised about that too. But Frank Kaminsky, I will also say, he needs more minutes too. Anytime he's involved, he stretches the floor really well. Just an all-around good basketball player. Maybe I'm a little biased. He's my Madison guy. Led us very far. But yeah, they're just a very, very deep roster, and they're fully healthy now. They can play 10 guys. So I agree with you, though. Ayton, I don't know what's going on with him. I expected way bigger things from him. He's athletic enough. He's big enough. He's strong enough where he shouldn't be forced out of games in a pick and roll, but that's how it's been as of late.
Yeah, and I want to get your thoughts on one more big man in this game before we move on. Hoop, what do you think about James Wiseman, how he's done with the Warriors so far, and what do you think of his potential here as an NBA star?
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll be solid, but man, the Warriors got to be kicking themselves for not taking LaMelo. Yeah. I mean, how fun would that have been? I mean, LaMelo looks like the real deal, but Wiseman, I think, yeah, I mean, I think he'll be fine in the NBA. But I mean, honestly, it's like it's one of the he plays that position that's kind of dying in the NBA, like these bigs. Like I mean, he's a little more polished. He can shoot a little better than a lot of them, but like I don't know, it's a position that's just not really needed in the NBA. I was kind of surprised that they took him, to be honest with you. But he looks good. He definitely looks good.
Yeah, I mean, Wiseman's a guy that's beating smaller guys off the dribble and draining jumpers, but then he can't catch an entry pass. What do you think? Is he going to be a star?
He has a lot to work on, but I buy in on the talent. I love what I see, his potential. He just needs a few more years to get better and better. I mean, last year he only played, one game at Memphis, so he needs a lot more court time, but he's in a great spot with Steph, with Draymond especially. Draymond's really taking him under his wing. I think he becomes a really good player in the NBA.
All right, let's head on to the last game of the evening. That's my hometown Sacramento Kings heading up to Portland to take on the Trailblazers. I mean, the Trailblazers, I don't know how they're getting this done. They're 20-14 now, 19-15 against the spread. Dame was not very good in my DFS lineup last night, but he was fine for the Portland Trailblazers, their fans, as he hits the big shot. And was he the one that drew the big charge on Draymond at the end of that game last
Yep.
night?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Warriors Twitter wouldn't stop on that, and I obviously as a NorCal guy, I follow a lot of Warriors, so I was reading about that last night and this morning. So now Portland is laying. What do I see? I see -4 here in this game. The Kings coming off a win over the Lakers, which I mean we talked about. It should have been a slam dunk, and they could have easily lost that game. Don't know what to make of the Sacramento Kings overall. They seem like a fade to me, and I almost feel like the opposite about last night. Like, how is this line only -4?
Yeah.
The Kings don't have Halliburton, and their defense keeps getting terrible. I'm down on Whiteside, but Mangone always brings up good points about what he's able to do for their rotations. He's another player that's out this evening. And really, I mean, if you're backing the Kings, to me, it's just the play of Harrison Barnes. That's been keeping us in the game. Bagley's kind of become resurgent on the offensive end and kind of, maybe proving that he can be an NBA player. He's still so tough on defense. But Rashawn Holmes masked some of those mistakes. And then you have this Portland team that's just been, I mean, I can't believe they're doing it with all these injuries. I was ready to write them off when they lost McCollum and Nurkic, and I don't know if Zach Collins is ever going to play in the NBA for as much as he's been out, which is too bad because I loved him at Gonzaga, and I thought that was going to be a fantastic pick for Portland. But I don't know, man. Hoop, I'm gonna take the Portland -4, but it feels like it's the too easy late game like last night. What do you think, Hoop?
Yeah, I mean, it feels a little trappy. I mean, it just seems too good to be true. I mean, you get this Portland team who, on offense, they can score, and they get a matchup here against this Kings defense that is like one of the worst in the NBA. Lillard should obviously have his way here. Carmelo had a good game last night. Some of these, Gary Trent, like they have guys that can score. I feel like if they can come up with a few stops here along the way, they should just smoke the Kings. So I really like Portland -4. I don't care if it seems too good to be true. I'm gonna be on Portland -4 here, a late night hammer. I mean, they're a better team. They're at home. Both these teams are on back-to-backs. Kings, like I said, their defense is just so bad, and their coach is a moron. Like Luke Walton is a freaking idiot. So give me the Trailblazers -4. DFS wise, Lillard I think is a strong play. Problem is on DK, especially he's priced up there with Giannis and Jokic. I don't think I can play him over those guys. Probably more of a FanDuel play than anything. I think Darren Fox is an interesting play, but we got to see. I mean, DFS is tough tonight because we need these injuries to sort themselves out to really know how many spends we're going to be able to, how many guys we're going to be able to spend up for on the slate. So favorite thing about this game is definitely Portland -4.
Yeah, I mean, the Room Pure Sports pregame show is going to be must watch tonight as all these parts are moving in and out from DFS. So, it's going to be tough for us, to give out great predictions, especially from the DFS perspective right now. But I think we can give some good predictions on this game. Title, are you with us? I mean, are we just going to go ahead and take what seems to be the easy route and lay the 4 with Portland here? What do you think?
Yeah, so last night I was hesitant on it. I didn't want to pull the trigger on Sacramento, but today I'm with you guys, Portland -4. It's my favorite bet of the night. With no Tyrese Halliburton, he's a big, big piece of this team. Defense, offense, he's just a stud of a player. I'm very high on him. Without him, they're a lot worse of a team on both ends of the basketball. Portland, Carmelo's playing outstanding. Robert Covington's really coming on as of late, playing both ends of the ball, shooting really well. Mm-hmm. Gary Trent, Cantor. Cantor's really interesting because I played him yesterday on FanDuel. He played most of the first quarter, and most of the third quarter, but he only got 2 minutes in the second quarter, and he didn't even finish the game. They put Rodney Hood. He didn't play any of the fourth quarter. Rodney Hood played most of the fourth, finished the game. So I like what Portland can do, whether they want to go small, whether they want to go big. They have a lot of pieces that they can roll with, and I like this spot a lot for them. As far as the Kings side, I wish Luke Walton gave Bagley more minutes. I'm higher on him than most people. I think he's a very good young talent. I hope he goes to a team where a coach likes him, gives him 30-plus minutes a game because this guy's a good player. could shoot the ball, good down low. But I'm with you. Portland absolutely -4 feels way too good to be true. But hey, I'm going to go with the way too good to be true today. I think Dame has a massive game. Sacramento just plays no defense. And I have interest in this game in DFS too. Very high total. Dame 10.7 I like, but I agree with Hoop. I like Giannis more. Jokic, I like a little more too. He's safer, but it's a good tournament play. Buddy Hield's been shooting the ball well for Sacramento, so he'd probably be my favorite play on DraftKings. He's 6,300. 8,900 for Fox is a little too expensive for me, but I like Portland in this spot a lot too.
Yeah, and you got kind of stole my next question for you, and that was Buddy Hield, because he came off a fantastic game last night. But if you watched, the ankle was a little bit of gimpy. That's always a concern, especially when one bad pick can completely derail your lineup. And then I definitely want to get your guys' thoughts on Harrison Barnes, who's been one of the better players for the Kings. And I want to sneak him in a lineup here, but 7,000, it just seems about right because we don't have that ceiling. What do you guys think about Harrison Barnes? Is there any way that he makes it into a lineup, or is the price point combined with the lack of ceiling going to keep him out?
Yeah, it's a price thing. I mean, I do like how he's been playing very well. The minutes have been there. I mean, you're getting everything you want out of a guy, but on this slate for 7K, I think it's just a little bit much. You're kind of hitting that peak price tag on him. So, maybe in tournaments a little bit you can take a look, but it's tough to pull the trigger on that 7-1 on DK, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, 7-1. So it's a tough tag for Harrison Barnes.
On the Portland side, I know Title talked about it a little bit. Is there any of the maybe more secondary players or kind of value guys that we're looking at, or with them being pretty close to full strength on what the new normal is for this Portland team? Does that kind of take them all out of the conversation?
Yeah, it's 100% what it is, especially on this slate too, where we already have a lot of value. We're gonna have a lot more value that pops up. I don't see the need to force in any of these guys, especially like Title just said, they can go a lot of different ways with their lineup. Like it could come back to Cantor playing 34 minutes tonight. Then that means some of these value guys aren't going to get the run on the court. So very flexible with their lineups makes it tough, especially on this slate where we're going to have a lot of value.
Yeah, and I don't think I'll put Cantor in, but if I were to speak on his behalf, I would say with the Kings having the more traditional bigs and not running as small as the Warriors, he does have a chance to get more run, because I think that he can go against Holmes pretty easily, and I'm not necessarily that opposed to him when Bagley's running as the small ball 5. So maybe he gets a little more, but I mean, what is he at? 7,400 on DraftKings, 6,600 on FanDuel maybe, but it just seems a little bit too high, especially with the center position being what it is. And now seems like you need to nail center if you're gonna ship the lineup, right? I mean, it's almost like choosing the center is like the most important thing of your lineup, it seems to me. So, do we have any more thoughts of this game before we finish up?
He's a better play, like you said, on FanDuel. He just because of his price point, but center's just been so loaded with Embiid and Jokic this year being so good, and we get value like Patton as of late. When he got the spot start, he was so cheap. He's a good player too. So you really need to get center right, like you said. And there's so many outs that Cantor not getting there with the minutes and stuff. But I do agree with you with Holmes and Bagley. You'd think this is a matchup that he should get run in every quarter. Like he didn't play once in the fourth quarter, which was tilting for me. But I mean, it made sense. They wanted Rodney Hood on Steph, trailing him around, and they went small. I think Toscano Anderson was playing the 5 yesterday at the end of the game for a little bit on the Warriors. So Cantor can't move his feet and play that kind of basketball. But if there's a matchup for it, I like this matchup a lot more.
Yeah, I do too. I think they just kind of priced this out. So, all right, guys. Well, we made it through all the games, which means it's time for the best bet segment. Hoop and I did fantastic. We went 2-3 on Tuesday. We went 1-1 yesterday. So we want to go on the All-Star break with a winning record. So I know it's a tough slate, but we're going to buckle down and give it our best. Hoop, what's your best bet for the day?
Yeah, I'm going to be my best bet's going to be this Nuggets, and it's four. Right. I think it's up to 4.5 now. Mm-hmm. The reason I like this, obviously, I think Sabonis does sit, and I think they rule him out closer to the game time opposed to this afternoon. So I think it's going to be more of a game time decision. They rule him out maybe 30 minutes to an hour before lock. So I think our number here is going to be good all throughout the day. So give me these Nuggets. Even if Sabonis plays, they're definitely live to cover that 4.5. So give me the Nuggets here in this spot. Really like the play today.
All right, Title, how about you? Best bet, side, total, or prop?
Portland -4. I know we just talked about it, but that stood out right away to me. I just expect them to have their way against the Kings, who don't play any defense, poorly coached, no Tyrese Halliburton. Feels too good to be true, like we said, but I'm gonna hit the -4. I'm hitting it right now, actually.
All right. Well, let's see. You guys took the two bets that I've placed during the show. So I'm going to go ahead and do the DFS style pivot. I'm going to grab the Raptors plus 8.5 going against the Boston Celtics. My idea here is it's a buy low spot, right? I mean, this line moved 2 points because we saw how terribly they looked yesterday. If there's any team that really wants to get going, right before the break, it's going to be the Raptors and basically a rivalry game, right? Which I think is almost like, we see it in college a lot, where throw the records out, throw the form out. When these two teams play, it should be a close game. And I just think we're getting the ultimate buy low spot here with the Raptors. I do think they can keep it close. I think it'll be much better than the effort we saw last night. And, hopefully Lowry can play a little better. Norm Powell did his greatest, but he can't disappear in the fourth again. And maybe we'll get a little bit more from Boucher and everything. So obviously, these were some tough picks to make. We outlined it so much why this was a tough card, but we knew it was going to be going that way when we fired up the show today. But you know what? We're not afraid. We're going to go ahead, take some stands, give out some picks, give out some info, and I loved it so much. So if you guys want more of this type of content, please head on over to runpurebets.com. For $60 a month, you get access to my picks, HDP's picks, the Sports Keg's picks, JJ's picks, Joey Works picks, Tyler's picks. Score with D is killing it on soccer, so the team keeps growing and we keep winning. You'll get access to the private videos, the subscriber live shows. Keg knocked out another 3.5 units live last night, crushing those player props, finding the good NBA money lines when the teams go down on a run. So then, if you want to do that, right, you already got 60. Why don't you add another 40 on? Join the whole movement. You can get the whole thing, $100 a month. You get both. You'll get access to Titles Core, Hoops Core, AP's Core, Big T's Core, JSU's Core, and they'll allow you to navigate on the three biggest sites, Yahoo, FanDuel, and DK. Everyone can watch the YouTube show, right? And the YouTube show is great that you guys go on. But what you're missing out, if you're not a member, you don't get the Up to Lock show with Holden and JSU, where they're digging down and they're finding out last minute news and putting the final tweaks in their lineup. For example, if you watched with me yesterday morning, right, you would have been on Kyle Lowry because me and JSU were hot on Kyle Lowry. We got some news. JSU pivoted to John Wall, and that was the right move because John Wall ended up to have a much better game. But you had to be a member, and you had to go ahead and be watching this show going up until lock. And it's so much fun. They have a great time on there, too. I think Holden and Uncle T are starting a nice little rivalry that makes it even more enjoyable to watch. So, gentlemen, do you guys have any more words? I think I summed up everything that you get from the Run Pure Sports team, but do you guys have anything more before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to play back this video and type up that promo you just laid out. That was phenomenal. I mean, just spot on. I mean, that was really good. But yeah, I mean, we're building the team out on both ends. DFS, sports betting. We're gonna make this the biggest overall gambling community, I think, in the industry. That's our goal. We're continuing to improve the product. Haven't even been around a year. I mean, we started this whole thing in June, and we continue to grow and improve it. And the pieces that we're adding have been phenomenal. And, the goal is just to build a big community on the DFS side, sports betting side, and make it the best spot to come. And I think we're getting close. I mean, we can obviously continue to improve, which we're trying to do, but it's a good product overall, and I'm excited to be a part of it. In terms of tonight, we're going to crush. I mean, went 2-0 last time. We're going to hit all these things again today. It's just I like where we're at tonight, boys. All
right, Title, you got anything else for the people before we get out of here?
Yeah, it's watching all these shows. I always tune into these shows. Betting and DFS they go hand in hand together. You need both of them to really maximize your edge. Another big thing that you get with Run Pure Bets and Run Pure Sports is the Discord. Discord is my favorite part of it all. Just such a great community, talking every sport, bets, DFS, to almost 24/7, really. Such a good community. So make sure if you sign up, make sure you head in the Discord. can ask all of us questions, our thought process on it all. But I'm excited to get some nice wins. Hopefully we go 3-0 heading into the All-Star break, and then we'll be back next week sometime talking some more basketball too.
Yep. Hopefully we'll bring you guys back next week. All I really have on plan will be for the Wednesday afterwards. JSU and I were not sure if we were going to do a show, but when we went 45 minutes just talking about the first 2 games yesterday, we realized that we can still get a show out of a 2-game slate. So the NBA rundown will be back next Wednesday. It'll be myself and JSU. Hopefully we'll get a Big T appearance. Hopefully we'll get a Tyler appearance. But that is all to be worked out. But everybody, enjoy the All-Star break. As a friendly reminder, you don't want to gamble too much on the All-Star game. Just enjoy it. Watch all the dunks. Watch them run up and down the floor, and don't play defense. And the total's probably going to be about 300. So that'll be fun. But please enjoy the show coming up on Run Pure Sports tonight, and that will be as titled. Hoop, are you on the show this evening?
I believe tonight it's Mangone, JT Hayes, and Big T.
Okay, so Mangone's the host.
Yes, Mangone.
I know they
Mangone's
clamor
taking the
for
wheel.
Mangone to be the host every time Holden makes a mistake. And
Yeah.
who's the guy in the chat that gets him to ask the Diallo Dort every day? I think it's Nape in the chat. Just keeps tricking Holden because he just treats it like a teleprompter and he'll pretty much read anything you type in there. So we're having a lot of fun on that show. I'll be tuned in, of course, and watching it with you guys as I try and build a lineup as I get better at this DFS stuff. Hopefully, most likely, pretty sure we're going to go 3-0 on these best bets. And thank you guys for watching.